in a highway to death. As the latest in more than 1,400 aftershocks of the earthquake of '89 reshaped the Northern California landscape. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting again live tonight from Oakland, California. Good evening. This is the situation. Aftershocks combined with power outages and water shortages to hamper recovery efforts all over Northern California. Nowhere is it more dramatic and more visible, more heartrending than this place just behind us, Oakland's Highway 880, where the grim recovery of bodies has actually begun. More than 3,000 people are suddenly homeless, seeking what shelter they can find, and that 3,000 figure may turn out to be low. Concern about this whole earthquake situation could affect bridges and highways under construction. A concern heightened by the horror of this Oakland Interstate 880, where most of the deaths that we know about apparently occurred. Now, a word about the death toll. The official estimate of the death toll stands at 273. That's for all of Northern California. That includes the original and then follow-up estimates of the number of people who may have been killed when the upper roadway here collapsed onto the lower roadway. The overall official death toll estimate, 273, that includes 250 plus as an estimate of people killed here. However, just this afternoon, officials, as they began to actually get into the automobiles, lift some section of the roadway up, began to say our estimate of the number of people killed on the roadway may turn out to be a bit low. Now, Jerry Bowen, our veteran CBS News correspondent stationed here in California, has been working hour by hour on this rescue and estimate situation back here. Jerry, what's happened to raise the hope that the death toll may be lower than first announced?
Well, there are a number of factors at work here. It's been a very slow and tedious process, as you know, because of the sheer weight of the rubble. Very slow going. The confirmed death toll has gone from 7 yesterday to just 13 today. And perhaps officials are revising it downward because of two factors. One, there may have been less traffic than originally thought because people had gone home to see the World Series ball game. Two, the number of calls coming into the police about people missing is much more lower than originally thought, and this may be why officials are revising the estimate that 250 people died here in the Oakland disaster.
This is the rhythm of life and newly discovered death at the Oakland freeway disaster. Another body recovered, another crushed car moved aside to make way for the remaining vehicles that are sure to come.
Missing persons.
It's still not known with certainty how many bodies are trapped in the freeway rubble. But police report today they have what they call a serious list of 108 missing and probable fatalities.
Do you have reason to believe they were traveling through Oakland on the day of the earthquake?
Among the gawkers and curious crowding every vantage point, there are more than a few people who have reason to believe a friend or family member is there in the steel and concrete. Billy Masters thinks his brother may be lost.
Whether he made it in all right, I don't know.
So have you heard from him?
No, I haven't.
Over on Eddy Street, Howard Carter helped Marie Weems get a closer look at the recovery effort. They're concerned about one of their own.
My next-door neighbor been missing since the accident, and his wife haven't heard from him, so we don't know. Hopefully he's not in there, we're hoping.
For a time last night, an agonizing time, officials thought they had one.
It has been confirmed that in the 2,500 block of Cypress that they have found one person alive.
We have located several individuals, none of whom are alive, so there are no survivors at this point.
6-year-old Julio Berriman in critical condition tonight may be the last miracle. He was pulled out Tuesday night, but first doctors had to cut through his dead mother in their crushed car and then amputate Julio's right leg to free the boy. Doctors operating right through the aftershocks.
It was extremely hot. It was really hellish in there. The fumes were terrible, and we were feeling some trembles. We couldn't spend the time to really consider that. We just knew we had to work as quickly as we could. I was worried he was going to die before we got him out.
And if there is a ray of sunshine, Dan, some good news, it is that young Julio continues to improve. His sister Kathy, who is also trapped in the car back here with him, is in fair condition, so a bright spot in this continuing grim story.
Jerry Bowen, thanks. A lot of talk, as you might well imagine, about the structural problems that have occurred all over the northern part of the state, but particularly on this highway. CBS News correspondent John Blackstone, based in San Francisco, has been looking in to the problems of structures.
As the search for victims goes on, the search for answers is also becoming urgent. Engineers and officials are trying to figure out why a freeway that was once considered state-of-the-art failed to withstand what in engineering terms was only a moderate earthquake.
90% of all of these columns failed in an earthquake that was about 5% of what we should have designed for.
In a state that has made massive freeways a centerpiece of daily life, the collapse of Highway 880 has sent out its own aftershocks. A similar double-deck freeway that runs through downtown San Francisco has been closed. It was damaged in Tuesday's quake and remains standing, but there are worries about how solid it is.
There's no security or certainty that there's going to be enough strength there to hold it together. Nobody wants a repeat of what has happened at Oakland.
In Los Angeles, the huge new Century Freeway is still under construction. Those who live in its shadow saw Oakland and shuddered.
Watched television all night long, trying to figure out what would happen to us if something like this would happen.
But California's highway department says the 880 freeway is unique because of its age.
The ability to go back and retrofit that, redesign that, has taxed all of the engineering profession to try to figure out a way that could be done in a reasonable manner.
The strength in the cement columns of Highway 880 was provided by vertical steel bars, but in the shaking, the ties that held the bars together snapped. New construction methods include a spiral reinforcement to take more stress. Still, there is shock that the 35-year-old roadway proved so fragile.
If, in fact, there's some deficiencies in the system itself, in the way it was built, because it wasn't built against specifications, then authorities will have to deal with that, both from a civil and criminal viewpoint.
Many freeways in California have been upgraded in recent years as engineers learn more about dealing with earthquakes, building for earthquakes, but tragically, the 880 freeway was not one of those that has been reinforced. Dan?
The tragedy of Highway 880 was determined in part by geography, because that highway led directly to the Bay Bridge. That's the bridge that links San Francisco with Oakland and is used by thousands of commuters every day. This is the mile-and-a-quarter section of the highway that collapsed in an area close to the bridge. Today, engineers are pointing to weakness in the support pillars as the reason for the collapse of the two-tiered highway, which was built between 1949 and 1954, ancient times by today's safety standards. And earlier today, I took a close-up look at the wrecked highway. This is 18th and Cypress, the critical junction of Highway 880. This particular section gives us a cross-section of what happened here. The upper part of the highway collapsed on the roadway below, absolutely collapsed on it. When safety engineers came in here, they said this whole thing is in danger of falling down. Workers can't even get in there to try to get the automobiles that are sandwiched in between out until we make this safe. First thing they did was put a steel beam underneath, supported by pneumatic jacks, and then timbers braced on each side to keep this whole thing from caving in. That took time. It took a lot of back-breaking, round-the-clock work to get that done. Once that was done, it's just now been completed, then the rescue workers can get up top with a crane, start lifting the automobiles out, and that's what they're about to do now.
They're taking off sections of concrete, and then they will be removing automobiles, and with people in them, I understand.
We talked with some of the people who took on this grisly task. Why is it taking so long?
For safety, to prevent further damage to the structure and killing workers. And it has to be stabilized before, if they start taking off the upper deck, they're just going to collapse it.
Even further?
Even further.
It could come down on us, and a lot of times we're working underneath the structure, insuring it up. So people have to watch. If we see any concrete flaking or anything like that, we have to get out of there.
We will not go under there now. We'll have to slide all of our steel and our cribbing and our timber shoring in from the side, so we don't expose our men to the hazards and danger of falling concrete.
Strong aftershocks rolled through Northern California today. The strongest shock, measuring 5 on the Richter scale, was centered near Santa Cruz, not far from the epicenter of Tuesday's main earthquake. 4 known deaths are reported in Santa Cruz, but property damage has been extensive. As Bob McNamara reports, a collapsed building was the scene of protests and arrests today.
Brick by brick today, rescuers dismantled a century-old Santa Cruz building. It was a slow race against time. But the hopes among those keeping a vigil at the site were that Robin Ortiz was trapped inside, still alive.
She's so strong. She's one of the strongest people that I know. And if anybody would live through something like this, she would.
Trapped was 23-year-old Robin Ortiz, a gourmet coffee shop manager caught inside when the quake brought down the structure's ceiling. But police, on the advice of 2 Canadian rescue experts here, doubted Robin Ortiz survived.
They're saying no, that nobody could have. And they're frustrated. If one of my family were in there, I'd be upset. I'd be wanting to go in there, but sooner or later, reality has to set in, too.
Don't stop digging!
But last night, the police doubts and the hopes of the missing woman's friends collided. People wanting rescue efforts not stopped for the night, and 4 protesters were arrested.
If it had been a small child, if it had been somebody really important, I think that they would have worked through the night despite the danger of the wall.
Still almost 48 hours after the quake, as work wore on, hope began fading.
I've begun to accept her death, but I'm still hoping that she's alive.
Late today, Ruth Rabinowitz, Robin Ortiz's best friend, was told the search was over. The second of 2 victims of the coffee shop collapse had been found.
It is the body of 22-year-old Robin Ortiz.
Robin Ortiz's friends had hoped for a miracle, like many others here since the quake. But there was no miracle here today. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Santa Cruz, California.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, live from California, the seismic future of this whole part of the country, and the other news of the day, including an earthquake in China.
When you get a cold or an allergy,
you need some herbal tea.
you also get a lot of advice.
What you want to do is feed a cold.
A lot of advice.
Take Judy to call me in the morning.
But the best advice is what doctors have said millions of times. Take Dimetap. Dimetap in non-prescription formulas brings proven relief. So take the advice of doctors and pharmacists.
The tea works. Huh?
And take Dimetap. The best advice you can take.
The low-priced Subaru Justy with 4-wheel drive. Think of it as a Range Rover that's more in your range.
When you've got hemorrhoids, walking is hard. Sitting, worse. Anusol has an anesthetic for the pain and itch of hemorrhoids. Prep H doesn't. Anusol has an anesthetic to take the hurt out of hemorrhoids.
I was gulping a hot dog when my little superstar made an unbelievable goal. I gave that ref a piece of my mind, but it went to my stomach. It was a Maalox moment. I took extra strength Maalox Plus, strongest antacid there is. My doctor recommended it. I need the strongest with my husband, the ref.
Nobody's perfect. Write us about your Maalox moments. Extra strength Maalox Plus, strong relief for all your Maalox moments.
Among the emotions here is relief, but that may be an illusion, at least partly. It's true that after a shake like this, the earth usually settles down slowly, and people know that, but people also know that that is not always true. And scientists say another earthquake, even the big one, could come at any time. Tuesday's quake took place along the South Santa Cruz Mountains segment of the San Andreas Fault, and according to some scientists, did relieve some of the stress along that 21-mile stretch. But the basic cause remains, and that's the constant pushing and pulling in opposite directions of the giant continental plates that make up the Earth's surface. Now, with me is our friend and one of the world's experts on this sort of thing, Dr. Robert Wallace of the U.S. Geological Survey. Dr. Wallace, does this actually relieve the pressure and make it less likely that we'll have more earthquakes now?
The first part, yes. Of course, it relieves some stress. But let's put it in perspective. It relieves only a small portion when you consider that the 1906 earthquake at 8.25 magnitude released about 100 times the energy that this one did on Tuesday evening. So there is still that big one out there coming, because, as you say, the two crustal plates are still warping, and in 1906 it broke over 200 miles. And Tuesday it just broke about 30 miles. That is still to break.
What would be the difference between the so-called big one and this one?
Well, one of the main differences is much longer. The hard boom, boom, boom went on for about 10 seconds. In 1906, it went on for 45 or 50 seconds. So if you knew what happened to you the other day and continued that for 4 or 5 times, you can imagine you'd come apart at the seams, and a lot of buildings would, too.
Dr. Waters, thank you very much. On the eve of President Bush's scheduled trip here to Northern California in the quake zone, White House officials in San Francisco Mayor Art Agnos traded criticisms long distance. President Bush's spokesman today said the mayor was being uncooperative and declined to meet with visiting Vice President Quayle on Wednesday. The Democratic mayor of San Francisco said he was never contacted about it and dismissed the vice president's visit as, and I quote the San Francisco mayor, a publicity trip. I'll be back to some of the other news of the day in a moment.
Is that all there is? It's kind of simple, isn't it? You sure all the good stuff hasn't sunk to the bottom? Well, where's the buried treasure? There's no mystery. Sip. This is just flakes. Mmm. I can actually taste the cereal. It doesn't need anything else. The naked truth. Now, I like that.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Corn Flakes?
Taste them again for the first time.
Eat fish twice a week.
Your doctor knows.
It's good to eat.
Helps your heart to keep the beat.
Helps slim you down from head to feet.
Twice a week, seafood and fish.
Lobster.
Scallops.
That's delicious.
Haddock makes a lovely dish.
Holy mackerel, try monkfish.
Fillet of soul. So every week, eat fish twice.
Try halibut steak.
Now, that's quite nice.
To cook a fish, take this advice.
10 minutes an inch, that should suffice.
So eat fish twice a week.
It's easy tasty.
I think it's seafood.
The official spokesfish now will speak.
Eat fish and seafood twice a week.
This year, one airline will pass all the others. We'll have 70,000 more departures than Delta. We'll have 120,000 more departures than American. We'll have 400,000 more departures than United. In fact, this year, U.S. Air will have more departures than any other airline in the free world. So if we sound like an airline that's really taking off, you don't know how right you are. U.S. Air, America's most frequent flyer.
Defying President Bush's veto threat, the United States Senate gave final congressional approval today for a bill that would allow federal help for abortions for poor women. That would be federal help for poor women in cases of rape or incest where an abortion is involved. The Senate today rejected changing the U.S. Constitution to outlaw desecrating the American flag. President Bush and others backed an outright constitutional amendment above and beyond the federal law Congress passed recently making flag desecration a crime. All of this a fallout from the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in June that flag desecration is a form of protest protected by the Constitution. For the Space Shuttle Atlantis crew up in orbit, its main mission accomplished and down to other business today. Correspondent Bruce Hall has the latest from the Johnson Space Center.
Even as the astronauts successfully sent the nuclear-powered Galileo spacecraft on its 6-year voyage to Jupiter, there were indications that the annoying, baffling problem of space sickness may have struck again. This time, the victim appears to be Dr. Ellen Baker on the right, the astronaut who was sent into space to help physicians understand this illness. Before the flight, she talked about space sickness.
Some people feel sick enough that they actually vomit a few times, but life goes on and you press ahead with your duties, whether you feel well or not.
Space sickness feels a lot like motion sickness many experience on Earth, but it has become a significant barrier to living in the weightless environment of space.
Right now, we're running about 70%. Crew members reporting some symptoms of motion sickness.
So symptoms may be very mild, ranging anywhere from just not feeling like eating, up to being very sick and wanting to, lock themselves into a corner and not really wanting to move around very much.
Researchers have spent more than 20 years trying to find the cause of space sickness. But so far, physicians have found no solution and cannot even predict which astronauts will get sick.
Most astronauts get over space sickness in a day or two. So all NASA shuttle flights are now scheduled for at least 4 days, giving the crews plenty of time to get over their embarrassment and complete their task in space. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Johnson Space Center.
Okay. But just suppose another tornado rips up our Meadville plant. Then what? Or suppose we have a string of accidents, like we did in '86. Suppose I get sick again. Would another insurance company come through like the people from the Hartford? I doubt it. And after 14 years, this fella is not about to find out.
When you need us most, we're at our best. The Hartford.
Your favorite chair sure looks comfortable until a hemorrhoid attack flares up. Get Preparation H. It often relieves burning, itching, and swelling for hours. So get comfortable. Get Preparation H.
Oh, not today. I can't have this arthritis pain today. Anacin.
The Anacin formula gives you more medicine than regular aspirin for hours of relief from minor arthritis pain. Anacin, when relief is a must.
There's a motor oil that says it's engineered for today's smaller cars, like sports cars. But is that motor oil the first choice of the members of the Sports Car Club of America? No. Valvoline is the first choice of the members of the Sports Car Club of America. Valvoline makes the highest quality motor oil recommended by any automobile manufacturer. People who know use Valvoline.
A major political shakeup in the Soviet press today. The old-line, hard-line communist editor of the party newspaper Pravda was removed. He was replaced by a close aide to Mikhail Gorbachev. A major earthquake struck northern China today. The Chinese government says thousands of homes were destroyed and at least 29 people killed. Our Beijing correspondent John Cheyenne has a report.
The China quake hit an area where millions of rural Chinese live in poverty. In Yenbei district, the villagers are just beginning to recover their dead. The series of strong tremors hit without warning. The first shock registered 6.1 on the Richter scale, trapping people in their crumbling mud brick homes. The area is so poor that there is virtually no machinery to dig into the rubble for victims. Tens of thousands are homeless. Families are bedding down outdoors in nighttime autumn temperatures close to freezing. Relief supplies so far consist of small shipments of bread. The nearby Chertian Reservoir Dam is cracked and in danger of bursting, threatening more villages downstream. Stocks of food that were needed to get through the winter have been wiped out. Neighboring regions have little to give. In contrast with disaster victims in more developed countries, the survivors here in northern China face months of suffering with few resources to rebuild their ruined homes and shattered lives. John Cheyenne, CBS News, Beijing.
Spanish author Camilo José Cela today won the Nobel Prize for Literature. The 73-year-old novelist and essayist Cela was cited for a rich and intensive prose and a challenging vision of human vulnerability. In a moment, everybody's vulnerability in trying to cope with a major earthquake.
Want to get wholesome and hearty instantly? Eat Nabisco Wholesome and Hearty Oat Bran Hot Cereal in apple cinnamon honey or regular. Instantly. The only instant hot oat bran. Delicious. Get Nabisco Wholesome and Hearty Oat Bran. Instantly.
If you thought you had to give up comfort to get a close shave, Norelco says, think again. Their revolutionary shaving system shaves skin close in a way that's incredibly comfortable. As the hair enters the chamber, the patented lift and cut system lifts each hair and holds it a split second before a blade cuts it, so it's possible to shave skin close without the blades even touching the skin. The lift and cut shaving system from Norelco. We made close comfortable.
A recent test compared the Toyota Tercel stick shift, the Hyundai Excel stick shift, and the Subaru Justy automatic.
But
But we made it just a little tougher on the Justy, because you don't have to shift the Justy. And its incredible ECVT automatic makes it accelerate and pass quicker than the Hyundai and the Toyota. Proof that Subaru can beat the competition with one arm and one leg tied behind its back.
I got a flat tire. Now my stomach's on fire. My day. My Lanta, too.
Introducing My Lanta 2 roll packs for double strength antacid relief wherever you are.
Because my life takes my Lanta, too.
You know, ever since the walls came tumbling down here Tuesday night, along with so much else about normal daily life, people have been rising to the occasion. The comeback spirit of Northern California is really impressive and something to see. Without bridges, without lights, without houses, and worse, people have tried to help themselves and tried to help each other. CBS News correspondent David Dow has more on how hard people have been trying, how much they've been helping one another, and how hard it is to cope with the aftermath of such a big earthquake.
At hotels in San Francisco's financial district, wake-up calls for once brought good news.
Good morning, Miss Phelps. It's 8 a.m. This is your wake-up call. Our electricity is on and we have hot water. Good day to you.
Never mind the bagged breakfast, little by little, the city's commercial life is returning. But the return of commerce signals the beginning of longer-term problems. Officials say it will be several weeks at least before the damaged Bay Bridge can be reopened. By Monday, 175,000 commuters will be seeking another route to San Francisco. Today, officials held an emergency meeting to confront a problem they never planned for.
It's not going to be easy to get into the city, at least from the East Bay, by automobile, except by circuitous, very congested routes.
Early today, many commuters learned about that firsthand. Some turned to the area's rapid transit system, others to newly revived ferry service between Oakland and San Francisco.
Maybe out of all this death and destruction, we'll learn something about commuting.
Meanwhile, residents in the hard-hit Marina district of San Francisco are also learning something about the earthquake's long-term effects. There's the problem of rebuilding, which could take months or years. And even those who escaped the damage may face a wait of months for gas service.
Could be as many as 15 or 16 weeks before that system is rebuilt and in good enough shape so that I can say we've restored gas service to the entire marina.
But recovering from the quake is more than a matter of buildings and utilities. In the city's shelters today, some talked of the long-term recovery of human beings.
I think people are still in a little state of shock. I don't think you know how you're going to feel a month from now.
This afternoon, a cheering sight, the return of cable cars to San Francisco streets, a symbol of normalcy in a time of uncertainty. David Dow, CBS News, San Francisco.
And that's part of our world tonight. Dan Rather reporting live from Oakland, California for the CBS Evening News. Stay tuned now for a special live edition of 40